Well, let's turn to the political turmoil in Lebanon now, because its Prime Minister announced his resignation live on TV in response to 2 weeks of protests.
For 13 days, the Lebanese people have waited for a decision, for a political solution that stops the deterioration of the economy. And I have tried, during this period, to find a way out, to listen to the voice of the people. It's time for us to have a big shock, to face the crisis. I'm going to the presidential palace to present my resignation. To all our partners in political life, our responsibility today is how we protect Lebanon and revive its economy.
And here is Mr. Hariri handing his letter of resignation to the President. Now, the President is still to comment, and even if the resignation is accepted, the Constitution requires Mr. Hariri to stay until a new administration is formed. That may be easier said than done, given the mathematics and the factions within Parliament. Now, these protests, we've talked about them a lot on Outside Source. They began with plans to tax WhatsApp calls. Those plans were scrapped, but the protests widened to target corruption and economic turmoil. And turmoil is the word. If you want more detail on the Lebanese economy, this lengthy analysis, which asks how did Lebanon become the third most indebted nation, is invaluable. You get it from BBC Monitoring via the BBC website. It describes how citizens use backup generators for several hours during daily national blackouts, and that's nothing new. Lebanon's not been able to meet its electricity demand for decades. Well, here's the reaction of some people on the streets when they heard the Prime Minister had resigned. Well, most of the demonstrations, certainly the largest ones, have been in the capital Beirut. Most have been peaceful, but look at what happened earlier. This we can see playing out here are supporters of the militant Shia group Hezbollah ransacking a protest camp in Beirut, setting tents on fires, beating anti-government demonstrators, driving many more of them away from that particular camp. Hezbollah is very relevant to this story. It dominates the coalition government led by Mr. Hariri, and it's recently hardened its stance against the protesters, as you can see. BBC's Lena Sinjab has this update from Beirut.
This is a huge moment of celebration for the Lebanese people. After 13 days of nationwide protests, including here at this very square, Riyadh Salah Square, people have managed to achieve a huge demand of their demands. The resignation of Prime Minister Saad Hariri is a huge success for people who are demonstrating here. Earlier in the day, they were attacked by supporters of the two Shia movement, Hezbollah and Amal, but yet they came down again to the streets in defiance and insisting that the resignation is not enough. The people in Lebanon for the first time have gathered from all classes, all sects across the country, saying no to corruption, no to nepotism, and no to warlords, leaders who are still running their own country. They want leaders who they trust. They want leaders who can give them fair treatment, fair opportunities, and technocrats who can run the country better. And after the resignation today, they're most likely to ask for more and continue with their protest and call for early elections of the parliament.